G'day, Steve Morgan here from Fishing Monthly magazines, and I've been using cable drive electric motors for the last at least 15 years, mainly for tournament fishing, sometimes for social fishing, and I've come to love the fact that I can steer a motor forward and backwards, it goes left and right, and it's nearly intuitive for me. Recently there have been some improvements, I suppose, in cable drive electrics. There's the Minn Kota Ultrex, which has like power assisted cable drive. There's Motor Guide's got new ones coming out, but I've got one of the new Garmin Force electric motors here. And I was sort of thrown into the deep end. It came out, I got one to try, and I was going to swap it over between tournaments and maybe do some unboxing and some fitting videos with you. We got to the first tournament of the year, one of my mates busted his Ultrex. He said, and I said, look, take my Ultrex, we'll put the Garmin on. So we unboxed it, put it on late at night and got it all going. And at the end of the day, it was a really good test of just how intuitive these motors were. The Force, there's a few major differences from my previous electrics to the Force. First, it has a brushless electric motor, and the brushless electric motor, firstly, and the first thing I really noticed is how quiet it is. When we rigged it up and I hit the button to test it, man, I could hardly hear that thing going at all in the air. When you put it in the water, it's similarly quiet. The second thing that I noticed, I suppose, the difference is the styling and the design. It looks a little bit different. It's got all of the main control panels sitting in the front here, and they're all digital rather than sort of analog style panels. So works really well, gives you everything you need to know right at your feet. If your battery's good, if your satellite is good, and if the wireless controllers are connected. They do come with a wireless controller in a box. This is a little handheld Garmin it comes with. I barely use this one at all because I tournament fish. I tend to use the foot pedal all of the time. This runs on AA batteries. This thing also can run on AA batteries, which is pretty cool. So when we were putting it together at the night, I didn't have to actually, power this to the boat. Even though you can power it to the boat, I could throw some AA batteries in and it can connect. And I can drive that, I suppose, from anywhere in the boat. Eventually that'll get the power put on it, it'll get screwed down and it'll sit in place and it'll operate just like any of the other cable drive electrics that I've used. It was a little bit weird. The setup here looks a little weird with the cables running through, but they work 100% perfectly. It's seamless the way it works, and the way it plugs into the Garmin's other ecosystem is pretty cool, and that'll come to you in a future video. This is a variable voltage motor. It's designed to run on anything between 24 and 36 volts. So I'm running it, and I've run all of my electrics for the last 5 years with a 24 volt, which is really about a 27 volt Torpedo battery, and that's a German manufacturer of electric motors. They make a single 24 volt 106 amp hour equivalent lithium battery, which sits in the back of my boat. And a problem for the old motor was there was lots of talk about the manufacturers wouldn't honour warranty for something which is delivering 26 or 27 volts. The Garmin's cool, it sort of senses the amount of voltage that you're giving it, and it gives you a proportional increase in power. So I replaced an 80 pound 24 volt motor with this Garmin. All of a sudden I'm going a lot quicker and I'm getting the full value, I suppose, for that extra voltage that I have. Initially I found the retrieval of the motor to be really easy. I lift it up there, it automatically sets to the right position, and I drop that down. It's got a stick that you cut to the right length, and then the handle can actually fit in there, so it's ready for you to grab and deploy. Grab it, I just take a little bit of pressure off by touching that, and the motor self-lowers in. It's got that spring dampening, which is really cool. The other thing I found really awesome was the fact that to adjust the height on the collar, normally I would be mucking around and adjusting a collar height here. Now it's a simple, I just undo that collar, down the motor goes, and I do it up, and that's how easy it is. So that's really simple and really intuitive. Because we fish tournaments in both salt and fresh water, the real game changer for me was the fact that this has a 3-year warranty in Australia, straight out of the box, and it doesn't matter whether it's in fresh or salt water. For us, that's awesome. We're on saltwater now. We're at St Helens in Tasmania. You can see all of the oyster racks around. Imperative to have a really good electric motor. So we can use this motor with confidence. And I'm going to come back to you in 6 and 12 months' time to tell you exactly how it's faring in that nasty environment. One of the other cool things I found on the very first day that I used this motor is how good Garmin's spot lock is. Of course, spot lock, it's a digital anchoring where I can just hit one button. It tells me on the control here that I'm in spot lock, and it will then hold position. And it does so really, really quietly. We had this going, and I'll show you in some cutaway now. We had it going in conditions where the propeller was nearly coming out of the water, and it held all day. Now, one of the things that I did have to do at the start, and remember I didn't read the instruction book at all for this electric motor, is you do have to calibrate this motor to make the spot lock work. When you hook it up, power it up, it works, it goes left and right, but if you want that spot lock and GPS to calibrate, you have to follow the instructions, get your hand control out. You do a couple of clockwise and counterclockwise circles, and this GPS gets itself locked in, and the spot lock can work perfectly. So what do I love about this motor initially? I love the fact that it's got plenty of power and it uses that lithium battery of mine to 100% of its capacity. I love how quiet it is. It's a really quiet motor, and I love the fact that it has that 3-year saltwater warranty. And when I crank up the power to 100%, that motor's really, really quiet, and it's really, really fast. It's noticeably faster than my previous Minn Kota Ultrex that I had on the boat. One of the things when you're driving it you may find weird at the start is the fact that the speed controller on the side, it's 2 clicks for every 10% that it drops down. So it's not a proportional thing. It's not 1 click for 1 bar up. You can adjust it down in those, say, 5% increments. So it's about 20 clicks from the bottom all the way to the top. But otherwise, my initial impressions about this Garmin Force is they're awesome in Australia. They're about $5,000 retail, so they're not a cheap motor. But if you tournament fish and if you love your technology, and we're going to get into some more of the technology that this thing has in the next video, this may be the motor for you. Garmin, kicking some real goals over here.